A man who infiltrated the Bandidos has become the first known refugee from Australia after an overseas tribunal found he was abandoned by local authorities who blew his cover. The ABC can reveal Australian Crime Commission informant Stevan Utah won the landmark asylum claim in Canada after years in hiding. Josh Robertson has this exclusive report.
Stevan Utah has had a price on his head for more than a decade. The former Bandidos insider fled overseas after acting as a paid informant to the Australian Crime Commission.
In the most dangerous job in the world, I reckon, being undercover in the Bandidos bike gang.
Now a tribunal in Canada has ruled Australia has failed to adequately protect him against formidable agents of harm. That makes Mr. Utah the first known refugee from this country.
Why wasn't I looked after?
This is the only case that I'm aware of an Australian citizen being recognised overseas by a tribunal on the basis that there's an absence of state protection.
Canada's Immigration and Refugee Board has found that he would more likely than not face a serious risk to his life on his return to Australia. In a damning ruling last September, the board said there was a broader pattern due to corruption, ineptness and structural difficulties of Australian authorities failing to protect informants when confronted with motivated and capable outlaw motorcycle gangs. Mr. Utah told the ABC he was pleased Australia had moved to address gang crime since he fled, but the fact is I am now not Australian.
I think it is a great embarrassment that another country has said we can't handle our registered agents, our undercover people, properly, fairly and humanely as well.
The tribunal accepted that Mr. Utah was exposed by a 2006 Crime Commission press release divulging they had a source in the Bandidos. Soon afterwards, he was taken for a drive in the Queensland countryside. The Canadian Refugee Board accepted Stevan Utah's account that Bandidos tried to murder him in this driveway. He was brutally bashed and says he escaped through the bush after pretending to be unconscious while bikies went to get a gun to finish him off.
They were hell-bent on murdering him.
Stevan Utah's lawyer says no agency offered to reinstate protective custody, so his client can't return to face historical fraud charges in Queensland, which were dropped, then revived.
There was a grave concern that he'd be executed in a jail, which is not uncommon, or he would be executed if he was allowed at large on bail.
The ABC approached the Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission, Queensland Police and the Foreign Minister. None would answer detailed questions. The Commission says it won't comment on operational matters. The Canadian Refugee Board says asylum seekers from highly developed democracies such as Australia face a higher burden of proof, which Stevan Utah met with clear and convincing evidence. Josh Robertson, ABC News.